Welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Tidl Sport Cryotherapy Spray. This is a blast of cold like you've never felt before. For all your aches, pains, swellings, go to tidlsport.com. How could we forget? Another one of our proud sponsors here at the podcast is Urban Performance Labs. Now, Urban Performance Labs is a supplement company straight out of Australia. Now, listen, for any kind of sports supplementation, make sure you go and check these guys out. Now, if you spend $100, drop the WHH promo code. You're going to get 10% off your order. And if you spend over $200, we're going to ship everything to you worldwide for free. That's me going to the post office. I'm going to lick the stamp, put it in the box, and send it to you and your mother's house. How could we forget? Today is also sponsored by MMA Uncensored, one of the top mixed martial arts sites on the web today. For all your mixed martial arts needs, go to MMA Uncensored. How could we forget? Today's haircuts and style is done by the #1 barbershop in town, Elliot & Co. /The Garrison. Guys, if you want to go down there for some of the best cuts in town, like everyone goes down there, beards, you can go down there and have a beer, sit around and talk to some amazing people with some of the best barbers in the business, Elliot & Co. Go check them out. And of course, today's episode is proudly powered by...
In Ireland, the highest form of compliment in any pub is an insult. So I'm considered quite complimentary. Proper No.12 Irish Whiskey.
What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode. Marcus Deegan from the What Happens Here podcast, shooting direct from Sin City, Las Vegas, here at Show Creative Studio. Thanks very much for joining us once again on this Friday afternoon. Well, it's probably going to be Saturday morning when you guys get to see this, but thanks very much for coming along and joining us. Hope you guys had a great week. Fight week again this week. We've got lots to talk about, and of course, we've got some amazing guests in the studio today. Iridium Sports Management is one of those top agencies in the world today that has some of the best athletes on the market performing in the best promotion in the world, the UFC. I think these guys are just making such a huge name for themselves here in the United States. But don't take it from me. Let's check out some of these athletes they got on the roster. Oh, that was a good one. I'll tell you what, when you look at that, it just makes you desperately wait for this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the podcast the Director of Fighter Development at Iridium Sports Management. Now, I was told that Iridium Sports Management and Jason House would be nothing without this man. Nothing. That's what I've been told from Ed Cap, so I thought I'd say it today. Welcome to the program, Jeremy Luchau. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
Now, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
I go by whatever, to be honest.
How do you pronounce it?
It's pronounced Luchau.
Luchau?
Yeah, it's German, but, growing up, it's always butchered everywhere, so as long as you get my first name right, I'm all good.
Well, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is that true what they say about you and Iridium Sports Management, that agency wouldn't be where it is today without you? Because I hear a lot of amazing things about you, and I know you don't want to be modest, but can you just tell me a little bit about
I think Jason and I finding each other at the right period of time was kind of like it helped form kind of a superpower in a way.
So do you believe that you have to connect with someone in more ways than one to have a successful business relationship, as well as like any kind of personal relationship? You've got to connect with someone, right?
I think especially in the fight game, it's super personal, right? Like
right.
Knowing the athletes, speaking to them on daily basis, things like that. So for me and Jason to be so connected as we are as friends, as well as business partners, it's kind of just set the tone for the agency and set the tone for the way we interact with our athletes and things. So it's very different and unique than a lot of other businesses, and we're very different and unique than a lot of the other agencies that are out there.
So explain what makes you guys different. From what I've seen so far, it's very family orientated the way that you guys run your business. You guys really care about your athletes in a family way, as I said before.
Right.
That's one thing I've really noticed. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's 100% accurate, and I think that when we first came together and started out, the big name agencies in the world were dealing with strictly just UFC athletes, and we took it upon ourselves to really become like a developmental agency. So you'll see a lot of the guys. I use Alex Perez a lot as an example,
right?
As someone that we had since he was an amateur fighter, and we picked all of those fights and helped him grow, going up all the way up the ladder. So dealing with guys at the lowest levels in their career, and helping develop guys all the way through to the UFC level, you really create that bond with them, and I think that's kind of what has separated us from a lot of the other agencies out there.
And is that more like, does that feel better for you guys when you bring someone from the amateur status, and then all of a sudden they're making their way up? Like I had Natan Levy on here a couple of weeks ago, and I just can't wait to see he's got a fight coming up. Just been announced, and such a great guy. Had a lot of great things to say about you. How long have you guys been together?
Natan and Lance brought Natan on, and Lance is another great agent.
Yep, Lance was here that day as well. Yeah,
and it's been a few years now, and he's rose up through the ranks, himself, and got himself to a great place. So I think it's definitely it does make it a lot more exciting for guys that we bring into the fold at a young age and help get them to the next level. I feel like we grow as agents with them, and they've grown with us, and I think it creates, like, we don't have a very big turnover in our agency, right? We don't have guys leaving for various reasons and stuff like that. A lot of the guys that come in and the girls that come into the organization, they stay with us. We kind of build like long-term relationships with them.
Yeah. And I mean, you have a lot of young athletes in your organization too, right? Very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We start, we have different levels, and we kind of use like contenders series as a season. So we have a next season of guys, or a next season of guys, or a next season, that kind of, the next wave of guys coming in. So we're always looking at, where guys are on the board. We have different things that we utilize to know where guys are at in their careers,
right,
and help push them in the right pace, because everyone's pace is different, right?
Yeah.
Some guys can get into the show at 6, 7-0. Some guys need, like Alex Perez, he needed 20 fights before he got there. That's not knock on Alex. It's just each guy kind of develops at a different pace.
Yep. How do you feel when you see those sizzle reels of all your fighters that you have up there? Does that like pump you up? Do you get excited? Do you get proud? Do you get worried when you watch them fight?
I don't get worried when I watch guys fight. I'm pretty calm and humble about things. But it's definitely I get most proud when I see Jason do stuff, you know what I mean? Because the way we kind of set up our agency is like I'm the guy that's behind the scenes on the computer. So him being in the spotlight or him getting accolades and things like that, he always shares that with me, you know what I mean? So it's like those moments are really mean a lot to me as an agent, and the fighters are always competing well and doing well, and the best part about it all is we work with a lot of great human beings, you know what I mean? Not just guys that are doing great things in the cage. So being able to hang out with guys and enjoy their families and see them getting married, see a guy like Alex Perez have a baby recently, or all these things, that stuff means a lot to us. The outside the cage stuff. I mean, because it'd be difficult if the person was a dickhead. They've got to be a cool person, right? Yeah.
Some person, I'll tell you what, someone that's not a dickhead is a UFC Bantamweight 135 pounder. This man is an absolute animal. You haven't seen him around for a while, but he's here in the studio with me today. He's a part of Iridium Sports Management. He's got the looks, he's got the class, he's got the style, but don't take it from me. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, would you also please welcome to the podcast my mate, UFC Bantamweight, Mr. Vince Morales. What's up, brother?
What's up, dude? Appreciate you having me here.
Oh man, thanks a lot. It's been a minute. Like I was actually just talking to my fiance this morning. You were on the first season of this podcast when I was shooting it out of my office upstairs at my house.
Yeah, that's right. I was over in Portland, Oregon, training with my cousin Ricky Simone at the time.
That's right. That was just after the pandemic, right?
Yeah, that was
Maybe
like,
April or
no,
May?
that was like right before that, like end of March, April, something like that. Something right in there. Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. I've been looking forward to coming here.
Yeah, well, you've got a beautiful woman next to you today. What's going on?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to? Of course we have. Would you please put your hands together? This lady is also a mixed martial artist. I'll tell you what, she was with the Invicta promotion. Would you please welcome to the podcast, Shino VanHoose. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
What's going on?
Going good.
This is the first time we've actually had a couple in the studio.
Really? We're honored.
Yeah,
You are?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks very much. Great to see you guys. What's been happening? How does it feel when you see those fights up there, man?
I get worked up, dude. I can't watch my own stuff because I get like I just want to get back in there, especially being sidelined for so long now. Like I'm just ready to get back to my reality, which is training and fighting.
Did you get anxious when you see that? It makes you want to get back in that octagon, right?
Yeah. My heart rate skyrocketed.
Really?
My hands are a little sweaty.
Right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sorry about that. I didn't want to do that, but you know what I mean. I like to showcase things like that because you know you guys are such incredible athletes. I've known you for a little while now. Tell us about you've been sidelined for how long?
Since so I tore my Achilles after my last fight was in May. Tore my Achilles the end of August, and yeah, I literally didn't walk on my own for like 3 months. It was on a peg leg, then a boot, and casted. And
The peg leg. That's like the old pirate thing with the leg out the back,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
But
the
I
pirate
still
thing.
saw you in the octagon, doing pad training with your lovely girl.
Yeah, still doing mitts and stuff like that. I was still trying to stay pretty active, which unfortunately sent me backwards because I was kind of sweating in the cast and stuff like that, and then I had to go back into surgery. I've had 2 surgeries.
Okay, so what did sweating in the cast do?
Just more risk of infection. So
Right.
yeah, the doctors were saying my blood work came back fine, but just wasn't.
The scar was like.
Yeah, the scar wasn't healing
Yeah.
properly.
The
There's
scar-
some other things going on. So like, yeah, they went back in there, cleaned everything out, and then bed rest for like a month and a half.
How long ago did you do it?
That would have been August. The second surgery was October. And I think the middle of last month, I started finally being able to walk on my own again.
So the Achilles is a pretty significant tendon that they have. Did you snap it totally? And how did you do it?
I was warming up. So I went.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I went to California to train with Alex Perez and Ricky Simone for a few days, and I got there and literally. So we went and trained. We sparred like 8-9 rounds or something like that right when I got there. And I was like, okay, cool. Next day, I actually forgot to update my USADA whereabouts. So I got a call in the morning saying, hey, we're at your apartment. Where are you? I was like, crap, well, I'm not there. I forgot to update. So I got a strike on my USADA. Then I went to training and was warming up shadow boxing, just bounced backwards. And it felt like somebody kicked my leg out and hit the ground. And when I went to stand up, it just felt like my leg was on a waterbed.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I went right to the doctor, went and got an MRI, and then as I'm leaving the MRI place, UMI Brea or something, I got a call from Jeff Nowitzki saying that the COVID test that I had just submitted to them came back positive. So
okay.
This is all the same day. Yeah.
Hey, what?
This
Really?
is all the same day. Yeah, and then. Yeah, so, and what's crappy about that, my cousin was fighting the next week.
Right.
Yeah, Rick Simone's fighting the next week, and they ended up canceling his fight because of my test. And so, yeah. And
Is he talking to you again or what?
Oh, yeah, barely. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then, so I was in California, about 4 hours away, and I ended up just driving back that same night on my torn Achilles. So that was fun.
And so how did that affect you?
It was funny because he was calling me, obviously, hey, USADA's at the apartment. Hey, I tore my Achilles. Hey, I got the COVID test. And I was having a great day.
Yeah.
So I was like fine, and I just felt so bad for him.
Wow.
Like I was like,
can you imagine that phone call? I've got COVID, USADA's here.
Yeah.
I tore my Achilles, and then imagine if Shino goes, oh, and by the way, we're having twins.
knock on wood, Marcus.
Knock on wood.
You don't put that evil on us.
I know. You think that would be evil? That's not something that you would want, right? Well, obviously, you guys are very young. Well, you're 30 now, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be a grown up now. No, I guess we got things to do before we can.
Yeah.
Before we can get there. there.
His dad won't let us.
His dad won't let you?
Let us forget like that he's waiting on a grandkid though.
Right. Oh no, that's every spouse's. That's every mother or father-in-law. How does that affect you guys when one of your athletes gets injured like that? Does that put a spanner into the works? And how do you guys help him with his rehabilitation? Obviously, the UFC PI has a lot to do with that. Heather Linden, Roman Foam, and all those great, amazing people up there.
I think first and foremost, we got to make sure that our athletes are always connected with the right people, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to in their recovery process. But really more than that, it's just checking in on them, you know what I mean, helping their mental health, you know what I mean, because they do go through these times of, you know, of a little bit of a depression, you know what I mean, and things like that. So just making sure that you're checking in with them, making sure that you're talking to them about things, you see them, you know what I mean, and try to interact with them as much as possible, even if it's about a show or it's things that aren't MMA related necessarily, you know what I mean? But just to be a good friend to them, you know, and I think that's part of the healing process more than anything to help get those guys back in the saddle, you know, no matter what type of injury it is.
Now, how do you mentally push through something like that when you get bombarded with a bunch of mishaps in one go? How do you, I mean, obviously you've got your partner, which is a huge help, right? But how do you push through that? Like, you're a fighter, that's what you do, and you can't do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. So like one thing about being a fighter though, we're not just fighters that one time you see us on TV or anything. We're fighters every day. So like regardless, we run into these type of obstacles, we just find a way to work through them and work over them.
Right.
For me, I just went home, went to lick my wounds and cry on her shoulder. And I actually went and got another COVID test right when I got back, and that one came back negative. So it was a false positive that canceled the fight, which I still feel terrible about. And then, just dealing with things one thing at a time. If you let it all come at you at once, it's like it did. It's not the easiest thing to deal with.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you're just coming off an injury as well, right?
Yeah. It's been a long road.
Yeah, because I remember, I mean, when I first met you guys a year ago or in the gym, that you were just coming off an injury, and you were also just coming off a previous injury.
I'm always injured. I dislocated my elbow before a couple fights.
He's always got something new going on. I'm always dealing with the same injury.
And which injury is that?
That's my knee.
Right. Now, was that the ACL?
Yes.
Right.
I tore my ACL back in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was I tore it in camp. I was supposed to fight. Obviously had to pull out of the fight, and then just ever since then I've been dealing with the same thing. I took a fight a year after my surgery, and it blew out during the fight, and that's when we met, kind of around the time we met, when I was dealing with the second knee.
Yeah. So what's your prognosis now? Are you going to get back into the octagon again? Are you going to?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Yep.
Yes. For Invicta. I just got another MRI this week, actually.
Good news?
And not really. So it's funny because every time I talk to my manager about, hey, I'm ready to get a fight, my knee goes out. And it's, like you said, it's been like one of those things that kind of messes with your mentality a little bit. And I'm only 25. So having to go through this over and over and over again, it really just kind of tests you a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it tests your mental strength. But I mean, one thing I've found out about people that are in combat sports is that mentally they're very, very strong. It's such a mentally, I don't want to say mentally challenging sport to be in, but maybe it is because, you know, from what Heather Linden from the UFC PI was telling me that they have psychologists up at because it's such a strain on the brain to be in this industry. Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. You know, they put themselves through so much torture outside of the cage that people don't ever understand. I mean, I think one of the big things that people always talk about is dieting, right? Like not being able to eat what regular people eat on, you know what I mean? And the sacrifices that guys have to. I'm not even talking about even weight cutting. I'm just talking about dieting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two totally different things.
Which we all hate doing.
Yeah, you know, and it's just, you know, not being able to eat things that you want, a lot of those different things, you know, as much as there is a team aspect to MMA, a lot of the stuff that you do is alone, you know what I mean? You run alone, you know what I mean? You lift alone a lot of the times. There's so much stuff, you're alone in your thoughts, right, in your preparation for fights. So fighters spend a lot of time alone, you know, and I think as agents, you know, just being able to try to reach out and be their friends or understand the things that they're going through. Both Jason and I fought, you know what I mean, just so that we could get the feeling for what it was gonna be like, you know. So just having someone that knows and understands some of the stuff that you're going through, and understands, when you're cutting weight or when you're doing things and you start to get a little irritable, or, not to take it personally, because a lot of people like to start taking things a little bit personal, and we have to understand, like, hey, man, it's just they're going through some stuff right now that a lot of people don't understand, and they're not really meaning things the way that they say, So.
Yeah. Would you say that's an advantage about being a couple in the same industry, that you guys kind of know the shit that you're both going through?
I'd say yeah.
I'd say so too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I think we do a great job, like keeping that balance and that understanding. It just goes a long way. It's like I've had relationships with somebody out, like people not in my world essentially, and it's just that there's a certain level of understanding that really goes into it that can be beneficial on both sides.
Right.
Really.
So what would you say is the benefits about being a couple that are both involved in the same business?
I think it's just like you said, like when we're cutting weight, dieting, that irritability and like just understanding where that's coming from. But I feel like too, at the same time, because we both know that we both go through it, in a sense, we don't get irritable as much with each other, just because,
for sure.
like, you understand what I'm going through, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth with each other, and I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So
It's for sure a solid thing of support, right there to lean on. Yeah.
So what's the disadvantage? What's the thing is there any disadvantage?
I get hit in the face more than
By her?
exactly.
Really?
Oh yeah, she's mean. She don't care. She'll post videos too, her landing knees on me and everything. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, that's real nice.
Gotta show them who's in charge.
Yeah. But I mean, you hold back on her though, right?
No.
Well, you don't.
Hell no.
So what's the prognosis? When do they think that, like, I don't know about Achilles injuries. How long do they take, and how long are they that way forever? Is your Achilles tendon permanently compromised now?
No. So, not that I'm aware of.
Right.
I'm saying no.
Right.
So they were saying when I first was discussing with the doctors what the injury was and like the significance of it, they were saying anywhere from 6 to 9 months away from training in general. So that was kind of a tough pill to swallow. But the Performance Institute's been great. Heather Linden, Tara Giroux over there, Bobby, all those guys are literally amazing.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable. I go see them 5 days a week
Really?
minimum. Yeah, and I'm getting rehab every day. And for me, falling behind with that second surgery, I'm actually ahead of schedule on the first surgery now.
Wow.
Yeah, so they just do great things. I literally. Man, I can't imagine going through this without having them. Really.
Yeah, and your division's pretty stacked at the moment.
Yeah. What's that about?
Okay, so I was right. So obviously we got Peter Yarn, Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen, Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font, who's one of my favourites, Jose Aldo. Cody was in here. Cody Stammer was in here a couple of weeks ago. Great guy.
Yeah,
Ricky had 2 great wins in the last month.
Yeah.
What is
Savage.
he ranked number 17 now?
I don't know if the rankings have updated. He's in my mind he should be in the top 15.
Yeah.
At least by now. But yeah, I'm not real sure. He's kind of nose to the grindstone. He's just back to work.
Stacked division, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went from not really being kind of. I mean, I don't want to say that division has ever been overlooked because it hasn't. But when like obviously 155 was completely stacked there, and everyone was just talking about that. Now all of a sudden everyone's talking about the 135. What's the future for that?
I think that it's a division that, historically, if you go back, 10 years, a lot of those guys were having to fight in different weight classes, right?
Yeah.
Especially up.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of guys now that were fighting, 55, sometimes 45s. They're starting to settle into their natural weight class, which would be 35s. And on top of that, you have guys that have been training at their natural weight class.
Yeah.
So the weight class is evolving. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
You see guys that before would have had to go up and fight. And maybe they didn't evolve the way that they should have because they were trying to rely on trying to have to match strength and power and stuff like that. Now they're able to fight guys in their own weight class, and you just see over the last decade like just so much improvement in those lower weight classes with those guys being able to actually fight at their weight class.
Yeah. That's you going to stay at bantamweight?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If anything, like I used to fight at 45.
I remember that.
Yeah, not cutting any weight. And dude, those guys, like everybody started cutting weight. The guys started getting bigger. Started fighting like 6-foot people who cutting weight from like 180, and I'm like, bro, like I'm walking around it this way.
So what do you walk around at?
Right now, like 55-ish, give or take a couple pounds.
Yeah.
I'm still not one of the biggest guys in bantamweight. Some of those guys get real big, but I'm pretty comfortable. I'm good where I'm at. I think I'm looking at like longevity in the sport and my own body as well, so I'm not trying to cut extra weight.
Can we talk about your last fight a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel bad now because you said that you didn't like seeing those fights. And look, I purposely didn't bring a clip of that in today because I know that as we were talking
about, hard to find a good clip. I was there, I know.
Well, I just wanted to talk about that because you had a little bit of time out of the octagon before that fight. You were pumped, you were primed, you were ready to go. I mean, I was excited for the comeback. You were excited for the comeback. But it was just one of those things where that calf got compromised, right? That calf
yeah. Matter of fact, the PI kind of thinks that might have been part of the reason of the Achilles. Yeah. Just because the whole area was just so damaged from the fight that it was just so tight, and I just didn't give it ample time to heal. Just 'cause I'm a rebel.
We've actually had conversations about these calf kicks on the program before. Primarily, I mean, obviously they've been done since the beginning of time in mixed martial arts, but obviously it wasn't really until Conor McGregor got finished with that beautiful performance from Dustin Poirier that everyone started really talking about these. Oh, what's a calf kick? So I mean, obviously it's such a small muscle that there's nowhere for the blood to go, and once all the nerves get cut off, you can't feel it, right?
Yep.
So you basically were like walking around on jelly. Is that how it felt for you?
It was pretty well fried, both legs. Because I ended up switching stances because I couldn't deal with it as much on that lead, and just my stance. It's been something that I've been leg kicked forever, and I've always had this Chael Sonnen mindset where it's not going to stop me from going over there and punching you in the face.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it did.
Yeah. But I mean, I suppose it's because that wasn't out of any fault of your own. That's just what happens when the leg gets. I mean, how many significant strikes did you get? Did you count?
Just on the legs, I think I was in the 30s, something like that. Just on the lower leg. And like I said, it's something I've dealt with before, so it's the first time where it's been exploited to that level.
Yeah.
For sure. So. It's okay. Like training, I should have done more in the past to fix that, because everything's in retrospect. You can look at it and blame it on the past.
Of course.
But no, I think I've taken the proper steps mentally, and now that I can get back to training finally, I've got like 4 or 5 drills that I just want to hit on defending that, because that cannot happen again. Especially in this sport, like we're only as good as our last performance, which for me isn't that great. So, on the plus side, though, now when I do something impressive in the next fight, it's going to look that much more impressive, because I'm literally here to stay. Like, I got to prove some things.
Yeah. Was that rough to get over, losing like that?
Yeah, mostly on the ego. Like,
that's the thing with everyone, right? It's all about your ego is the thing that gets in the way of everything. Mm-hmm. It is. It's just. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It can have some benefits as well. Like for me, when I'm in there, I let my ego kind of not run rampant, but I let it show in some points. Like I like to egg on my opponents and get a little in their head, and that's all ego, a little bit of bravado, because there's a mental warfare going on in there as well. For me, but also the ego didn't allow me to fix that prior to the fight, right? So.
Right. But he's known for those leg kicks, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we knew that going in. Gutierrez, another Iridium guy as well. He's been doing great too. He's very good. Yeah, we knew that going into the fight. We prepped for it, but
how do you prep for that? But
so that's the thing. We were prepping for low kicks on the thigh, just because low kicks. Calf kicks didn't really register that it was the calf that he was attacking.
When you say it didn't register, because you couldn't feel it?
No, it didn't register like in the tape. We knew it was just classified it all as a leg kick, and worked on practicing stopping leg kicks, which is all on the side.
So just that the fact that it was going a little bit lower.
A little bit lower. It's a little bit out of frame visually, so I couldn't see it coming. And the first jab he landed fractured my orbital, so I was literally seeing 2 of them like this. And yeah, by the time. That's another thing. Like, as a fighter, we're supposed to be able to work over obstacles, right?
Poor guy.
No, it's good. It's good. I like it. Yeah, so we're supposed to be able to work over obstacles. So that's one of the big things for me taken away from this fight. Like, I didn't fight because I didn't work over that obstacle. I waited for the double vision to subside. So
did it subside?
No, it didn't. It got worse and worse. Yeah, so
Hit the one in the middle.
Yeah, right.
You're right.
Oh man.
Oh man, yeah. Well, you know what? I'm kind of glad that you came on, and the reason that I wanted to talk to you about that injury of yours, because I wanted to give you something today, and I want you to try it because I've suffered with back pain and neck issues for 30 years of my life, multiple surgeries myself, and I've come across this new product. It's a CBD hemp-powered cryotherapy spray. Now, you know about cryotherapy, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This stuff is like a blast of cold like you've never felt. It's really great for inflammation and swelling. Do you have any injuries?
No, I'm good. I'm old. I don't do nothing. I barely walk. Coming here today was a mission.
Yeah, those stairs out there will get you, won't they? So listen, mate. So I wanted to give you some. I don't know if you've tried this before. Let me grab one of these.
I have not.
It's got 500 milligrams of phytocannabinoids in it and CBD. It's a clean, cool, rapid relief blast of cold. Do me a favor, man. When you try that, right? When you spray that on your Achilles, can you let me know if it had any benefit?
Absolutely.
What about you?
Absolutely.
Injuries? Of course.
Just the knee day in, day out, dude. That thing doesn't stop.
Oh my gosh.
You guys, I swear,
Thank
you
you.
guys are going to absolutely love this stuff.
looking
It's a
forward to
brand
it.
new product that's just come out, man. And if you're into cryotherapy, and I've done a little bit of study on it, put it this way, it's helped me more than anything. Like I've tried Bengay, Icy Hot, Tiger Balm, a bunch of different cryotherapy sprays. Nothing has worked like this, and I wouldn't put my name and talk about something that didn't work. So what's the future? What's happening this weekend? We want to talk about some of the fighters that we've got on this week's card.
Sure. If you want to, yeah. I mostly deal with like regional level stuff. You know what I mean? Building guys up. So.
So let's explain that. So that was the title that I had written down.
Yeah.
Director of Fighter Development. So
Right.
once again, bringing in someone like Natan Levy and developing them into what they're going to be, right?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of it is watching a lot of tape, you know, before we even sign guys. You know what I mean? Seeing if they're the right fit for the agency, and then through that process, you know, once we get guys signed, Jason and I usually sit down and we kind of plan a roadmap for them. You know what I mean? And then it's my job to execute that plan.
Right.
So you know, get those guys the right fights on the right shows, and everyone's plan is different. You know, we do a proactive approach where we kind of talk to matchmakers and see what they're looking for from athletes too. You know, and sometimes it's, hey, this guy has a lot of finishes, but he hasn't fought someone super tough. So I got to go find them a tough fight so that they can prove themselves in a tough fight. Or it could be a guy that's fought a lot of tough guys and he's won a lot of decisions, but he doesn't have a lot of finishes on his record, you know. So it's hey, we got to go out and find the fights where the matchup is right for this guy to get a finish. So it's there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. And Jason and I do a lot of phone calls, a lot of face to face where we're talking about guys that need to get to the next level, or working towards, hey, what are we gonna do to get this guy contenders eligible, or you know, what do the matchmakers want to see, or you know, it's always evolving on what they want to see or what they're looking for in certain fights, or so it's just kind of a big puzzle that we kind of put together. You know what I mean?
This is one thing that kind of amazes me about this business, is that there's so many things that go into it that the fans don't realize. The fans that have never trained martial arts or have never even been in the octagon, all of a sudden they're the experts on this sport. They know more about it than you guys, right? How do you find that is with these fans, especially with mixed martial arts fans? They're very critical and they think they know it. Like, why is that? Why do these fans, like, why do they like to talk so much shit?
I don't know. I think they just want to be in the mix or
They'd wanna
something.
be-
Like,
yeah.
have you ever gone to a regional show and like
Yeah.
a regional MMA show, and then afterwards, all of a sudden, there's like at the after parties just fights breaking out for no reason, and so like. I don't know what, maybe because it's like you're fighting another human. That's like the toughest thing you can do, you know? Some people want to show their tough, I never understood that. But I do understand the athletes get it a lot in any sport. Like there's always.
But for some reason in combat sports, they seem to get it just that little bit more than they would in baseball or football or something like that.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if people.
I don't think it's a comprehension of what goes into it.
Yeah.
I think
they just see what they see on the TV.
Well, why didn't you just hit him more?
Yeah. You've seen that meme with the big guy drinking the beer. I would have swept the leg and then took him down and ground and pounded. It's like that, right?
Well, and it's funny because we kind
absolutely.
of get that with our own parents too sometimes, you know? Like,
My dad, listen up.
Yeah. What's your heritage?
Mexican.
Yeah. And your heritage?
Japanese.
Japanese? American?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Italian and German.
Italian and German.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, well, I tell you, there are two people that can fight: the Mexicans and the Japanese. They've got that warrior fighting spirit. So do you think that when this little guy comes along, he's going to be look at the face on Vince as soon as I mention babies or
Well, mine too. My hand's stuck. I'm the one that has to
She's like,
carry
Marcus,
it.
she said this podcast was fun. It's been nothing but filled with fucking anxiety and sweaty palms. The warrior spirit obviously is what's in you guys because it makes you want to fight. If you guys do have kids one day, is that something that you would put your child into? Is combat sports?
Definitely. Whether or not they want to compete, that would be on
Whole
on
separate
them.
story, yeah.
That's on them at that point. But there's a lot that people can learn just from training it.
Yep.
And it teaches you a lot about yourself and other people, which is crazy because it's kind of a solo sport. But you see how everybody has their own interpretation of what's going on and everything. There's just so many benefits that.
And I was actually really young when I got into
That's right. You were
martial arts.
14, right?
I was 6 when I got into jiu-jitsu, 6 years old when I got into jiu-jitsu, and then 14. I was 16 when I went pro.
Wow.
And so I think just, especially being a little girl in the sport, you just learn so much about yourself too, and then like you kind of learn fast. And then
Did you get into it for a reason? Were you bullied, or was it just something that you loved?
When I was 6, my dad did wrestling in high school, and he's always been like the UFC fan, and stuff. So he just kind of wanted me to get into it. So that's how I got into jiu-jitsu. And then he was military, so we moved to Japan, and martial arts everywhere in Japan. So just added more to the jiu-jitsu. I started doing judo. I started doing Muay Thai. And then women's MMA started getting popular. And then I was like, hey, I do all of this just separately,
Right.
Like I could totally put it together. And I didn't know I could make it a career, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Did your dad and mum ever come and watch any of your shows?
Yeah, they do. They especially when I was younger, obviously. When I was 16 in Japan... they all obviously kind of had to be there. They always went. As I started getting older and I was living on my own and stuff, of course, with them moving a lot, it was a little harder for them to come to all of them. But yeah, they always used to come to my shows. And,
Right.
Yeah,
and
they'll
how
come
does
to all
dad
of
feel
them.
about seeing his little baby girl getting punched in the face?
My dad loves it.
He
I think
does?
my mom is more
What
worried.
the hell?
Yeah. Well, my dad loves, like, it was my dad's idea to put me into, like, martial arts and Muay Thai, and my mom was the one that was worried, like she's gonna break her nose or whatever. And my
Right,
dad's
but
just
you
like,
haven't, apart from the knee, like you haven't, everything's good with the face, right?
everything's good
Right.
here. Gotta
No, it is. No, it is.
Hell yeah, it is.
trying to protect the moneymaker.
Now, do you do anything outside of like? I see a lot of. I see women's mixed martial arts is becoming very. Fuck, I don't want to say the wrong thing, get in trouble. Very sexualized in a sense of you see a lot of them doing other things outside of the mixed martial arts.
A lot of them have started OnlyFans.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. I was going to bring it up.
I know,
A lot of them have started OnlyFans. Do you think that those kind of things take away from the honor of the sport? Or do you think that girls should be able to capitalize on their money makers as well as being fighters?
Yeah. For me, it's definitely not something that I would probably put myself out to do, just because I personally am not comfortable with putting that much of myself out there,
So no OnlyFans for you two guys?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
No OnlyFans for me. But,
Vince has been trying to get me to do it for a month.
but I understand that MMA is also a sport that doesn't pay very well, especially when you're
starting out
and stuff. So I understand that if you want to do it full time or whatever, I know that a lot of girls can use OnlyFans as a way to pay their bills and go to training and focus on training.
Right.
So I think it's awesome that girls want to utilize their looks and their sexuality and stuff and, get their bills paid and everything. But I also understand it's not for everybody as well.
I've never actually seen an OnlyFans. I've never actually... No, I haven't. I have never actually been on and seen it. I know everyone's looking at me saying, you lying bastard. I actually have...
He's sweating.
No. Is there different, like, I don't know, is there different levels of certain things that people do on OnlyFans? Like, I don't know.
I don't know how it works.
Jeremy?
I've been told
Looking at the wrong guy.
Enlighten us,
the
bro.
friends that do have an OnlyFans, my friends that do have an OnlyFans have always told me, like, oh, just start it. You won't regret it. Like, you can post as Only what
Little-
you're comfortable
Right,
with. Yeah,
right.
you can post as little as you want, as much as you want. Only what you're comfortable with. So I guess in that sense,
Yeah.
it's really just up to you. I mean, it's your business.
Yeah, that's
at
true.
the end of the day. But I don't know. I just with the stigma that it has behind it.
Yeah.
I just even if I wanted to sell my like training videos or something, I just
Yeah.
OnlyFans isn't really the way I would want to do
That's
it.
good. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm glad you said that. I like that. I like that. What do you think about these crossover sports? There's a lot happening now. Boxing and mixed martial arts. Now you've got Logan Paul and Jake Paul calling out all these fighters. What's your opinion of it? Do you think it's good for the sport? And if you don't, does it once again cheapen the professionalism of combat sport?
That's a pretty good question. I don't think it's bad for the sport. I think anything that's going to draw more eyeballs to combat sports is good for all the athletes. The thing is, it's for the most part, 90% of the time, it's a mixed martial artist stepping into the boxing world and not a boxer stepping into the mixed martial arts world. So,
Because we know it would happen if
it's a big difference. You know what I mean? So you won't see too many high level boxers that are ever going to take the leap into fighting mixed martial arts, and the reason for that is because they'll never be able to deal with kicks and the ground game and things of that nature. Whereas mixed martial artists are more comfortable with saying, "Hey, I think I could stand up with a boxer." You know what I mean? I'm willing to go test that realm of things.
Right.
You know, so. In that aspect, I don't, I think it is what it is. It's entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's projected as such. You know what I mean? It's exhibition bouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And more eyeballs that we can get on mixed martial arts as a whole, is good. You know what I mean? It's good for all the athletes.
So let me ask you, as someone that does fight, would you take a fight like that? Would you be interested in fighting one of these YouTubers if the money was right?
I'll see why not. I'll go slap one of those YouTubers.
Yeah. Because what do they got? They got Jake Paul is fighting Ben Askren.
Yeah. So and then Antonio Tarver's got Frank Mir on the same card. I don't know if you heard about.
I actually just heard about that today.
Yeah.
Now Antonio Tarver, for those of you who don't know, was the boxer in Rocky V. Stitch Duran. When we had him on the program, we were talking about Jeremy Carver, who is actually a legitimate boxer. So that's gonna be pretty interesting as well. What about Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul? Isn't there a bit of a size difference?
Oh yeah, extreme.
How does that work? How do they get that even approved by
Because they classify it
as an exhibition?
Yeah.
And that's the only.
They did that with Mayweather and Tenshin in Japan. Tenshin is a lot smaller than Mayweather.
I saw that one, but that seemed a little.
It
That was
made
a
more
little
sense.
odd.
Right? Like.
Yeah, I don't know
still
about
odd.
that one. What did you think about that one?
It was odd.
Was that for the one promotion?
That was
was
for
Risen.
Risen.
Resin, that's right. That was for the Risen promotion. So if someone like Jake Paul or Logan Paul wanted to come and join Iridium Sports Agency, is that the kind of clientele that you guys bring on board? Or you just like the wholesome people like...
That's a Jason question.
That's
We'll leave those tough questions to Jason.
All right, we'll leave those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, if you could say, what's your...
I wouldn't have as much. I would say I wouldn't have as much fun doing something like that because I enjoy working with guys and developing guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's more of a Jason thing. I like
Yeah.
he's good at that type of stuff. You know.
You're a good guy, Jeremy. I can see it, man. And everyone that I speak to from Iridium, Ed Cap, yourself, very handsome Jacob over there, who I misidentified before. Good to see you, Jacob. Thanks for coming in, brother. Thank you very much. Everyone's just such a great. It's like that really family orientated atmosphere. And for all of our guests that we have on the What Happens Here podcast, I always like to present them with a little gift. This is the part of the show which I call it the passing of the proper. Have you tried Proper 12 Irish Whiskey?
Have I tried?
Yeah, we have.
Have we tried that?
Yeah.
Then yes, we have.
He was probably
I
already
must have
drunk,
drank too
Marcus.
much. I
So
had too much.
it's I don't know. Obviously, Jeremy, you don't drink,
I don't drink.
but it doesn't matter if you don't drink. We still like to present our guests with
Okay.
a bottle of the Proper 12. So the boys send me over a couple of cases of whiskey, and they get me to give them to all of the guests that take the time out of their day to come on this program. Now, these guys don't get paid for coming on here. They just do it out of the goodness of their heart and because they're a bunch of really cool cats. So, on behalf of myself and Proper 12 Irish Whiskey, This is what we call the passing of the proper. This one's for you, Jeremy.
All right, thank you.
This one's for you, young Vince.
Thank you.
And
Oh, we can
Appreciate it.
share. Oh my gosh.
what are you talking about? We can share. Everyone gets their own bottle of Proper 12 Irish whiskey.
Thank you. I
Compliments.
appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. So enjoy that. I like to have it in a little bit of coffee in the morning.
They're both mine. So
Put them on the shelf there. And by the way, Proper 12 and the cryotherapy together, that will take away all that pain in your Achilles. That will take away
in
Yes.
existence.
all your pain in your Achilles tendon. So thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What's happening in the future? What's anything big you can tell us about before we bounce out of here?
Oh man.
Tell us. Yeah, we want to know. We want to know any inside scoops.
I mean, it was just announced. Moreno's getting his rematch. I think
Saw
that's.
that.
Oh, yeah,
I think
man.
that's something that the whole team, it's crazy because we talked about how we're a big family, and it's awesome that a lot of the fighters, I would say the majority of them on the roster, they all pull for our guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they're just as excited for us for the agency to get that first champion as we are. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of that's going to happen in June. So I think everyone's really excited about that.
It was great to have Brandon in here just after he.
Did you guys talk Legos?
We actually gave him what did we give him? We gave him the Batman Legos and Star Wars Legos.
Yeah.
And he was more happy about that than the Proper 12 that I
Yeah,
gave him.
I know.
He walked
Yeah.
out of here with a bunch of gifts that day. But
They know him by name at the Lego store. It's crazy.
is that right? Well,
Yeah.
that's so great. Actually, I think he nearly started crying when I gave him that. He's like Batman. I was like,
Yeah.
hang on a minute, man. Look at this guy. And we had such a great fight. And Jason said that when he wins that strap, we're going to bring him back out
Yes,
in
yes,
here and
definitely.
do that all over again. It was so funny that when I was talking to, he's such a good guy that he was, we were talking about those couple of vicious nut shots that he took during that last fight.
Yeah.
And I said, how did that feel? He goes, yeah, it was all good. My wife called me afterwards and said, are you okay? He goes, yeah, it's all right. We got three kids already. We don't do that. That's a great kid. Well, thank you very much for coming on today, man. I really appreciate it. Maybe we can get Jacob on here next
Yeah,
time.
you
And
need to. He's
he can-
awesome.
yeah, what's going on with Jacob? He's looking a bit quiet over there. He doesn't want any Proper 12. He doesn't want nothing. And what about you? What's for the future, mate? What's going on?
I'm a couple weeks away from back to full training.
Okay.
So that's great for me. I'm trying to fight twice this year. I want to fight in the summer. I want to fight fall, winter time.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm trying to get right back out there. I got some ground to make up for, and I'm excited.
Yep.
It's gonna be amazing.
Have you
I can't
started? Have you
wait.
started anything yet?
Yeah, mostly a lot of strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
I do. I started doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Just here and there. They don't want me going live or exploding too much off that, and
Yep.
just
Yep.
not taking the time. And that's one thing that I told myself. I was like, okay, because I'm not very good at listening to people about
Yeah.
taking rest. So I'm like, okay, this time,
You're 30.
This is a big deal. I'm
That's
like,
what
yeah,
happens.
I'm 30. I got to be a grown-ass man for this. I'm going to listen to people.
I
and
know,
do
I
things
know,
right.
I know. I'm
So,
51 this year, and I still don't listen to people either. I know, I'm still crazy. Shino,
Same thing, just recovery and
Yep.
hopefully get back in the cage. I've been busy with schoolwork and stuff too.
is there anything that we
so-
want to plug today? Is there anything that you want to plug, or you want to mention, or you want to sell anything, or you want to tell anyone to go and buy something? Is there anything you guys want to plug today?
Kilo Club, actually. So yeah, we're both working out and training people out of at a Kilo Club. It's a private club over in Tivoli Village here in Vegas, which is it's a great spot. I mean, the whole atmosphere is crazy over there. Everybody's great. Just to be around. I'd like surrounding myself with a bunch of people who aspire for greatness. Know what I mean? So
Yep.
and they're definitely in that category. Yeah,
Very
we're there a lot.
welcoming.
Everybody over at Syndicate's been very welcoming, welcoming us onto the team and
Yeah.
training with. And
It's been awesome at Syndicate.
it's been great. I think we're about to change the stars to
Yeah.
in a few ways. So
Good. I can't wait to see it. You've always been a class act. Always been a great kid. I've trained with you a couple of times back in the day. I've been out of the gym a little while now. Just obviously a few injuries again myself. But this podcast tends to keep me busy. But I want to thank you guys for coming on the show today.
Thank you so
I
much
really
for having
appreciate
us.
it. It's the first couple that we've had on here. You're the first person that's been on twice. So you did the first season and second season.
Wow,
breaking
making
records.
history.
And now you're walking out of here with Tidl, with Proper 12, and it's just been a great day. So, Jeremy, Shino, Vince, thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. We had 3 of them in here. It was awesome. This is Marcus Deegan. Today's show is proudly powered by Proper 12 Irish Whiskey and proudly sponsored by Tidl Sport Cryotherapy. All the guys from Iridium Sports Management, Jeremy, Vince, Shino, thank you very much. Marcus Deegan for What Happens Here podcast. Take care.
Cheers.